Yesterday we finished off with a very interesting piece about Chavrayim Midchan B'Galila, which was we're on Vav Amud Bais. So is this Daniel's phone? Jimmy. Is Daniel on? Yeah. Oh, he's on. Okay, good morning. Good morning, I didn't see that. Okay, so I just want to mention there's a Rashi in V'Hayim Shemaya that Rashi says that even when you're in Galus, you should still keep the mitzvahs, and he calls them tziyunim. That even when you're in Galus, you should. We're on Vav Amud Bais. You should keep Torah and mitzvahs. So something like as if you practice. When you come back, you should. When you come back to Eretz Yisrael, you should be able to keep the mitzvahs. And the Mefarshim asked, what's going on? The mitzvahs in Galus are only practice. We only really have to keep them in Eretz Yisrael. So I saw in the Ksava Kabbalah, he writes like this. That Rashi said that you should keep Torah mitzvahs in Galus. It said Taf Vav Mem, abbreviation, Torah mitzvahs. But he writes that really what Rashi said was you should keep Trumas and Maestras. Then now everything makes sense. That when you keep it for practice, so that you'd be ready. So the whole, but it doesn't really fit because the Ramban is asking on Rashi. You can claim that from Rashi, but you can't claim it in all the Mefarshim that are learning Rashi that are clearly having difficulty with it. Okay, so we were talking yesterday about people that were keeping things for Kodesh as if it's Kodesh, because when Bais Hamikdash will be rebuilt, they should be ready. Oh, very nice. Just cool. So they should be ready when it comes back. Just want to add one more point to that. That after the Bais Hamikdash was destroyed, there was a large group that thought that it really wasn't destroyed. They thought that it was just like another Hanukkah story where they'll be able to fight off the Romans and get it back. And possibly the machlekes of Tfilas Arvis Rishus, there's a machlekes there. Tfilah in Brachas, there's a machlekes if the Arvis, if Ma'ariv is an obligation or if Ma'ariv is voluntary. That could be dependent on what their political status was. Were they in the time of Galus or were they still in the time of the Bais Hamikdash? Now, how can I help? That would then tell us why Rabbi Yeshua denies it publicly. Because what happened over there was someone told Rabbi Gamliel Rabbi Yeshua's opinion about Tfilas Arvis. That doesn't say who at the beginning of the story. If you remember this, get to the story, it says Talmud or Shemay Chai. But he says, "What's your opinion about Ma'ariv?" And he says it's Rishus. He said previously it's Rishus. In public he says that it's Chayev. So how do you deny it? Because could be there was people claim that could be that he was covered. He didn't want to talk about the rebellion, that they would get rid of their own. Okay, now we're holding, what we're holding right here is a statement from Rav Huna that says that Eily Shebenida, we're talking about Tumas Mafreya, that a woman sees blood, so she's tummy, from then on, of course. But there's also a Safek Tumah Midirabanan that goes back. That could be that the blood was there earlier. So she's tummy Lamafreya for 24 hours, possibly, according to the rabbi's opinion. So Rav Huna made a statement that says, Rav Huna is a second generation, he's a student of Rab. He makes the statement that it's only for Kodesh. It's only for Karbanos. And it's not for Truma. That Tumah that goes back, that's retroactive, that goes back, is only for Kodesh. And so that's how we got into this, where we said, Kodesh b'mei Rabbi, is there really Kodesh in the days of Rabbi? Rabbi was 150 years after the Churban. So we said, yeah, there were these people that were keeping it. Tashma, where Vav Amud Bais, maybe it's
the line of
Midchan. Midchan means tahar, and that's what is that? 11 lines down. 11 lines down. Toshima. Ma'aser b'shivchasi shel Rabbi Gamliel. It's a story. The maidservant of Rabbi Gamliel Shaisa Oifa Kikar Shel Truma that was baking loaves of Truma. Ben kalachas v'achas midicha yada, in between each one she washed the hands b'mayim with water. B'dekas, and she examined herself to see if she's tamei. In between each loaf. Truma, what's Truma? It's going to be given to the Kayan. So b'achreina badka matzah tmeya. At the end, the last one, she found that she's tummy. The people say, how come I always find things in the last place that I look? Right? So, the end, she found that she's tummy. Obviously, after that, she stopped working with the things. But what's her question? How much back does the tumah go? Because now she's tummy from here and on.
She checked herself after each
one. So, Ubasa v'shalas Rabbi Gamliel, she goes and she asks Rabbi Gamliel. V'amala kulan tmeyas. Rabbi Gamliel said they're all tummy. So Amrullah,
that's just the last one.
Yeah. So Amrullah, Rabbi Gamliel didn't realize that she was so careful. Amrullah, she says, Rabbi, but I examined myself in between each one. He said, Amrullah, Imkain, if that's the case, then that's a different story. Hitmeya kulan tahiris. You know, it's how you ask the question. You have to put all the information there, and you'll get a different answer. They say Reb Chaim Eiser was standing with the students, and someone, a taxi driver, comes by. He says, Rabbi, can I? I'm a Kayan. Can I take a gerusha? Can I take a divorcee? So Reb Chaim Eiser says, yeah, it's not a problem. The student said, what, a Kayan with a divorcee? He said, no, he's a taxi driver. He wants to know if he can give her a ride. He said. Okay, Ketani Mias, but what did we learn over here? Kikr Shel Truma. We're talking about Truma. It's a kasha on Rav Huna. Rav Huna said that this whole halacha only applies to karbanos. You see, it applies to Truma. Truma, okay. So the Gemara says, my Truma, what does it mean, Truma? Truma slach meitaida. The word Truma is being used here, but it's not regular Truma that's grain. It's Truma that's being given from the 40 loaves of bread that someone that brings a carbon taida, anyone that had something, a good occurrence to them, either they were ill and they got better, or they traveled through a dangerous area and they survived, all of that. Those 4 people, they bring a carbon taida. So there's 40 loaves of bread that they have to bring. It's actually 4 groups of 10 loaves. Total of 40. One of each 10, which is 4, has to be given to the Kayan, and that's called Truma Slach Meitaida. So we use the word Truma, which made us think that it applies to Truma. We had a kasha on Rav Huna. The Gemara is answering, it's not really Truma, it's Truma Slach Meitaida, which means that it's Kodesh. It answers the question. We're dealing with a carbon. The Gemara says, before I read the next line, I just want to point out that once we're going to answer this, then we have a very interesting question. We said that it's a maidservant of Rabbi Gamliel. So Taisvis, the Shivchasi Shel Rabbi Gamliel, Taisvis says that, quotes the Rashbam, it says it's Rabbi Gamliel Azakin. So here on the chart, I have Rabbi Gamliel Hazakin, and he's in between year 1 and year 50, so he's definitely Bisman Bais, right? When was the Churban? It was about 69, 70 or something. However, it still could be this Rabbi Gamliel, but the only thing is it would be at the beginning of his life, not the end of his life. Could be the regular Rabbi Gamliel. Because Taisvis is concerned, he says, if you want to say it's Rabbi Gamliel Hazakin, like the Rashbam says, then the Gemara usually says Rabbi Gamliel Hazakin. It doesn't say just plain Rabbi Gamliel. Plain Rabbi Gamliel is Rabbi Gamliel of Yavna, was the later Rabbi Gamliel. That was a friend with Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yeshua that carried Rabbi Yechim and Zakkai out. Okay. The Gemara now asks, okay, so you're dealing with the carbon, you're dealing with the loaves of a taida. The Gemara says, Shumas lachmi taida bafia my boy. That's not the way the carbon is brought. The way it's brought is that it's baked, brought to the Bais Hamikdash, and separated after the animal part is brought, then it's separated. Those 4 loaves are separated and given to the kohen. What's she doing separating it now when she's back at home and she's asking Rabbi Gamliel? That's all supposed to be separated later, after the korban is brought. The Gemara says no, dafarshina bilishayu. She separated those 4 loaves before. She has them separated originally. And the Gemara is going to explain why it has to be like that, or how this worked out. Lishayu means in the dough form. V'chiyadam Rav Tuvi bar Rav Katina, like Rav Tuvi, the son of Rav Katina, says. We had Rav Katina yesterday. Oh, on the side it says it's really bar Rav Kisna, but yesterday we have Rav Katina, if I remember correctly. Remember Rav Katina?
I remember it because I thought it was a verb until you said it. It was a noun.
Uh-huh. We had Rav Katina yesterday.
No, that was Zira. Wasn't that Zira? That's when that was small.
Yeah, Ziri, you're right. We had Ziri yesterday.
No, we had Katina.
And Katina, again, isn't that interesting? Could be it would be the modern Klein. Klein is small.
A lot of
So that's Katina. So it would be okay.
Isn't Bilishayu means when you kneading?
Which means that it's in the dough form. It's still in the dough form. So, like Rav Tuvi bar Rav Katina says, "Lachmi toida shafan dalet chalas yatza." It's supposed to be. You see, there's the bread of toida are made 4 different ways. One is matzahs. One is rikikin. I guess is also some sort of matzah. Revucha is like boiled. And the other one is that it's chametz, right? So,
I think Rabbi did is deep fried.
Revucha is deep fried. So okay, good. Then, so
This is a placeholder.
if instead of making 40, you only made 4, the right size, but you made them in all big loaves. The right amount of flour, but you made it just like huge loaf, Uncle Moshe size chalas, So, v'havinam ba, we asked in it, v'habayinan arboim, but you need 40. It says no, that's the mitzvah. That's to do it right, but you're still yaitza. You still fulfill even if you only made 4. The Gemara says v'habinan afrushi truma minayo, but you have to separate from those 40. Now it's 4 to the kohen. You have to give one of each group to the kohen. Maybe say give him a slice. Mikol chad v'chad from each one, but there's a problem with that because the pasuk says, what's the pasuk? V'hikr v'menu echad mikol karban. The pasuk says that you have to give 1 from each karban, and the Gemara says echad amar rachmana. You have to give 1. Shalom yitel prusa, that you can't take off a slice, you can't take off a broken piece for the kohen. So how do you make 4? Amrinan. So we explain like this: Dafashina bilishayu, that it was separated before. You actually made 4 huge loaves. But before you baked them, you separated a smaller piece, 1/10 of each of those 4 loaves, and you separated that, and that's going to be given to the kohen. So that's what this maidservant of Rabbi Gamliel is doing. She separated the loaves beforehand to be truma. That's how it's being called now, truma lachmei toida. You see, our problem was she was supposed to bake all 40. Get to the Bais Hamikdash and separate it later. How is she saying that she's dealing with truma?
She would have to bring all 40 to the Bais Hamikdash just to take away 10%.
I think that's how it works. I'm not sure. But
Really?
either way, the separation was done afterwards. Here, she's separating it before. Why is she separating it before? Because she's making 4 big loaves. And in order to be able to give to the kohen, you have to have it separated. You can't break it off later. So that's why she's separating it before, in order to have the truma lachmei toida. And then we answer the word truma, which fits with Rav Huna. Tashema. Come and listen. Shuv Maisa b'Shivcha Shel Rabbi Gamliel. There's another story with the maidservant of Rabbi Gamliel. She's sealing barrels of wine. In between each one, she's washing her hand, with water by dekes, and she's doing an examination to see if she's tar. In the last one, Batka, she checks, and she sees that she's tummy. She comes and she asks Rabbi Gamliel, he says, Kulant Meis, they're all tummy. So Amralai, she says to him, but I checked myself in between each one. So he says, Amrallah, he says to her, Imkain, he to me have a Kulant Tyrus. Okay, you're right, that's a different story. Checked each one, so only the last one is tummy, the rest
Did she learn from the first time that she should?
Very good. Very good. Wait a second. If you say Bishlaima Chada the Kodesh v'Chada the Truma, if you say that one case was Kodesh, in one case was Truma, Chada the Truma in one case was Truma, which one? It could be either one. Haino the Hajra Shaila, that's why she asked again. But if you say both of them is exactly the same case, they're both Kodesh, they're both Karbanis. The wine, I guess, was going to be for board for the Nesachim. Why does she need to ask a second time? It's the same story. My answer is we didn't say the name of the shifcha. We didn't say whatever. Maria. No, it was a Jewish one. So.
Was it just to show that Rabbi Gamliel and Rabbi also both left? Both hold on, or it's just they're saying two cases.
They're both of the stories were both Rabbi Gamliel.
I thought the first one was Rabbi.
No, the first one was.
The third one.
Did we have Rabbi? We had Rabbi earlier that says Kedayu Rabbi Lezer. Ma'asav Asak Rabbi Eliezer. No, but now we just had two stories. One was with dough. And one was with wine. Both was a shifcha of Rabbi Gamliel.
She calls Rabbi Gamliel Rabbi.
She both says, oh, that's you saying Rabbi.
Yeah,
Rabbi is just that, like you would say in yeshiva, Rabbi.
Oh, I didn't think
Rabbi.
that was
Yeah.
I thought that was Rabbi.
No, she's saying like we would say today, Rabbi. So, okay. So it could be that it's exactly the same case. Why was it asked twice? Because the question came again from another maidservant.
Yeah, well, he was a very wealthy man with lots of. he was like a king. Both either Gamliel,
Probably.
they were wealthy and they had.
That just shows unbelievable how a shifcha was able to just wake her way and say, "Hey, Rabbi, can I ask you
Yeah.
tongue to
I
the
thought wasn't
king?"
that Rabbi Gamliel that he used to get fruit out of season? Didn't they show that?
Yeah, well, that's Rabbi Huda says that.
Rabbi
Say, which is the son, which is his grandson, Okay. Let's see. Lishna Achrina. We have another version over here of Rav Huna. Amrila. Lishna Achrina Amrila. There's another version of the statement of Rav Huna. Amar Rav Huna Meis Leisha Benida. The 24 hours retroactive tuma of a nida metama bein la kodesh bein la truma. It works for kodesh and truma. Mimai. How do you know this? Because in the Mishnah and Chagiga that discusses the superiority of Kodesh over Truma, it doesn't say that Me'es Leis Shebenida applies to Kodesh and not to Truma. And that could have been one of the items that's more holy about Kodesh. The fact that it doesn't say it, that tells me that there is no difference between Kodesh and Truma. Very good. So, see, it's a funny thing because we created this whole problem with the first Rav Huna that it says it only applies to Kodesh and it doesn't apply to Truma, and then we have all of these complications and issues and questions. Why doesn't it say it? And we said there's no drara of Tuma. We had issues. Now we have the second one. Everything fits perfectly. All the issues fall away. Amalei Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman says there's a problem with the second Lishna. But it was taught. I don't know who the Amar Lay is. Amar Lay. Who's he saying it to? I don't know. V'hatani Tana, but the Brisa taught l'kodesh avalei l'truma. We actually have a Brisa that supports Rav Huna. The first Rav Huna, not the second one. and that's a kasha. So Kibli Minei Rav Shmuel bar Rav Yitzchak b'chulin shenasu al taras kodesh v'le b'chulin shenasu al taras truma. Okay, look at this. I have kodesh, that's a sacrifice. I have truma, that's the gifts that are being given to the kohen. Both of those need to be kept pure. And if a nida has been touching those things, and then she finds out that she's a nida, so it would be matama, both kodesh and truma. However, the Bais says that it only applies to kodesh, not to truma. So Rabbi Shmuel bar Rav Yitzchak explains that there are people that deal with kodesh regularly, and to keep themselves primed, they keep all of their other produce to the same holy status of kodesh. But it's not really kodesh. It's chulin shenasu al taras kodesh. Now the special halachas for these people, that they have to, that there's certain laws that apply to them. What applies to them? So one of them is Eily shebenida, the retroactive tumah applies to chulin shenasu al taras kodesh, not real kodesh, but chulin shenasu al taras kodesh, and it also, but it doesn't apply to chulin shenasu al taras truma. It applies to real truma, but not to the fake, to the prep, to the ones that are just for practice.
One
Right. Okay. It's a good teretz. We created 2 new categories though, and that's how we answer. Okay. Now, what's going to happen here is, you see the bottom of this page is going to introduce. We're going to be discussing chulin shenasu al taras kodesh, chulin shenasu al taras truma. Challah, by the way, is under the category of truma. Challah, dough that's removed to give to the kohen, that's considered truma. That goes under that category. And it's going to take us all the way down till close to the next Mishnah. There's going to be a discussion. You're going to be wondering, like, well, how does this come in to Me'eslei Shebenida? But at the end of this is going to be a question. So it's like this long question, but you don't have to keep that in mind. When each piece we'll be able to learn, then we go back, you'll see what's going on over here. Tanan Hassam was taught over there. Nailad la safek tuma. If a woman is kneading her dough, and she has a safek tuma that comes, some sort of safek. Actually, Gilgala, if it's before the water was added to the dough, when it's before it's actually kneaded, she's just dealing with it, then tasa b'tuma, she could continue doing this in tuma, and she could even make it more tameh. She could be mitamed. Why? Because it's regular chulin. There's no prohibition of making your food tameh. It's only if it's going to be truma or kodesh, that's a prohibition. But to here, I have regular chulin. It's a regular dough. So it's possibly tameh, because there's a suffix tameh here. There's no problem right here if she makes it even more tameh, because it's regular dough. Misha Gilgala, but once it's already, the water's been added and it's being kneaded, tasa b'tara. She cannot make it any more tameh. She has to make sure that it stays pure she can't increase the tameh.
If it's going to be for truma.
No? We'll see.
Okay, I'll check.
Ad shalei Gilgala, the Gemara now explains the Mishnah. Before the water was added, tasa b'tuma, why? She can make it into tuma, because chulin umutaligram tuma lechulin sheberetz Yisrael, you're allowed to cause it to become tameh. It's regular chulin. Misha Gilgala, when it's needed already, when the water's been added, tasa b'tara. Why? Because chulin atfulin lechala kechaladam. Because once the water's been added, the chi of chala now takes place. Once the water's been added, now it's dough. Dough, you have to take chala. Before, the chi of chala never started. Now the chiyuv of challah started, so it's considered chulin hatvulin lachala. That's like getting ready to be challah, and va'aser likrim tuma lachala. You can't cause challah to become tameh. Why? Rashi tells us to gezund. Rashi says, he quotes a pasuk. He says, "Vani nasati lachas mishmeres trumaisai." and trumaisai is a plural. 2 trumas have to be guarded. Mishmeres trumaisai, to guard the 2 trumas. What are the 2 trumas? Truma that's tahar, and truma that's teluya. Teluya means in limbo, possibly tamei. I have to guard that also, not to make it any more tamei. So this challah is possibly tamei, but I still have to guard it from getting any worse. Tana, it was taught. The chalasa teluya, this challah.
How's it going to get worse? Just to buy it again?
Yeah, if I think tamei vada is coming in here. Yeah. So the Bais teaches that chalasa teluya lo yoichlem v'leisarf. What do you do with the challah? You don't eat it, but you also don't burn it. You can't destroy it because it's still good. Okay. Oh, beautiful. Beautiful.
Let's go bring the chair from there.
Be'ezeh safik amru. We said that there was a noilad la safik, that a safik occurred. Which safik? What type of safik? The safik challah. It's a safik challah. 1 second. My safik challah. What do you mean a safik challah? Abaya v'Rava Dami Tarvayu. Abaya and Rava both say what this means is that it's a type of safik tumah that would only apply to challah but not to chulin. When it says safik challah, it means safik tumah that would only apply to challah but not to chulin. You see, because there's stringencies, there's levels over here. There's grades of what we are, of what type of tumah applies to what. So, just like for example, regular chulin becomes a sheni. That means that if someone that's tamei, an avatuma, touches a person, so that will make him into a rishon. The person can touch food, it'll make the food into a sheni. But that food goes on, it won't make anything else tamei. However, if that food touches truma, then it will become a shlishi. So there's grades in tumah of, and then if that shlishi touches a carbon, it could make a revi. But that's it. But there's grades. So here, what we're saying is with safek challah, it's a type of tumah that would make challah tamei, but not a type of tumah that would make chulin tamei. And Abai and Rava both say, Shalei taimar b'haychachish sheninu. We shouldn't say that it's talking about something that's a compelling tumah. K'may shnei shvilin. For example, there's 2 paths. One has tumah on it and one not, and the person walked on one, and we're not sure if he walked on the one that was tamei, or he walked on the one that, and there's a discussion here exactly what the details are. But that would have been a tumah that we don't need to talk about, because that's for sure tamei. That's for sure something that would be something it would be something that we wouldn't even need to discuss. The hasam chulin greidanami metame, because even if it was plain chulin, that would be tamei. Ela benishan. We're talking about the type of suffix that would only apply to challah, and nevertheless we're considering it chulin hatvul nechala has the status of challah, even though it's a type of tumah that only applies to real challah, not to chulin. If you remember, what we're talking about is we create these 2 categories. We introduced 2 new categories of holy food, which are practice holy food. Chulin shenasu al taras. Now we're talking about chulin hatvulin lachala. So it's not practice, but it's prep. It's going to become. You're going to need to remove challah from. It's not challah yet, and nevertheless we're applying on it a type of tumah that only applies to real challah, and it's only a suffix of that. So it's a suffix. So how does?
Ask a question. I'm a little lost in the trees here.
Oh, then you're way ahead of us.
We were talking about the subject up until now has been how far back you go under various circumstances.
Right.
Then we got into these mices.
Right.
Right. Now, what is the point of this discussion?
So,
How does it fit in? I'm not understanding.
so
we're
what happened? The way this fits in is because Rav Huna says that me'es leis, that how far back Tuma goes. Rav Huna said that it applies to only certain categories, not to all categories of food. So, in those distinctions, we introduced chulin that's nasu al taras kodesh and chulin shenasu al taras truma. He said, "Oh, you're talking about chulin shenasu al taras truma. Let's discuss chulin that's being prepared to be challah."
Okay.
And we're gonna see how tamei it could become. What scenarios of tumah will be applicable to chulin that's being prepared for challah, and this is going to be compared to chulin that's being treated as truma, and we're going to compare it shortly to me'es leis v'nida, the retroactive tumah v'nida. So we're setting up these parallels of different types of chulin, and we're going to put in lesser and lesser types of tumah and see if it's going to apply to those chulins.
You just brought the Gemara really alive, because just as we sit around here and ask questions like this, I'm imagining these Ravs, they're sitting around them once, all of a sudden, because, says, well, what about this type of situation? And then they digress momentarily into that, but then they get into it. I mean,